What's up, guys? So there's like really huge cheese in Fear and Hunger, and I'm going to go ahead and impart that wisdom upon people viewing this video as my chat has imposed upon me. Basically, you can force Andor if you have Legard in your party, if he uses
Months have passed. Runs have been completed multiple times, and now it's finally time to use my experience in order to decide a tier list for the skills of fear and hunger. Still, I have a dedicated video on it for the best skills in the game. Just to give you some example, Book of Enlightenment, which allows you to save, Scroll of Fencing, which allows you to use fast attack, Scroll of Longsword, which allows you to get leg sweep, Soul Stones, the Penance Armor by stealing the Bolt Key, possibility of an empty scroll from the Iron Shakespeare. Everything you can get is very good. Not crazily broken, but very good. And that's why it's not an S tier, but it's an A tier. Now it's time to... Move to the Dominating Soul, and we start off with Counter. Now, there is a problem with Counter. What it does is basically Blood Golem. This, when used, is gonna deal to you a little bit of damage, and then is gonna summon a new party member, Blood Golem, with 200 HP. And also attack, in my opinion, it deals around 300 damage with each hit. And as I say, the more party members, the easier the fight. A 200 HP mid-shield summonable in all battles with also good damage is great. A tier. Then we have a damaging spell, which the more party members the better, and this skill allows you to use it on ghouls or skeletons, not counting the bloody man because on it doesn't work, in order to get them as a party member if you hit correctly the coin flip. Oh, and it also costs 30 mind, but in my opinion it's an insignificant cost considering it's gonna give to you a new party member. Yeah, it's an uncontrollable party member, but skeletons can be equipped with weapons, or ghouls can just be used as mid-shield if you want. Because of this, it cannot be lower than A tier. And now, the final. Everyone knows what phase step do. It's obtainable only with an empty scroll, and if you click C, you consume 10 mind to literally not clipping the map by going 5 tiles into the direction you're looking into. But no, this is a mistake. Now, as a sign of pro, and then the last 2 skills are obtained the same way by map number 1 of Isaiah in this precise spot, and also restoring. Also, Orb. 3 magical attack on the body part selected is enough to one-shot most of the enemies by going for the head, or even, I don't know, White Angel by going for the heart, or even the Black Wish if you want, and it only costs 20 mind, which is enough to Black Orb. 3 magical attack on the body part selected is enough to one-shot most of the enemies by going for the head, or even, I don't know, White Angel by going for the heart, or even the Black Wish if you want, and it only costs 20 mind. Will never become obsolete with something else, and it's also a good damage. It's gonna deal around 500 or 600 damage overall, and I really think this deserves the spot in the S tier. And that's it for Gorgoroth. Now it's time to go for Sylvian skills. There are only 3 skills. That's it for Gorgoroth. I really think this deserves the spot in the S tier. And that's it for Gorgoroth. Now it's which is gonna be able to make it so that one party member will always be targeted by almost all the attacks in the game. It basically allows you to have a dedicated tank, which will make all the battles in the game way easier, because just focusing all the damage on one party member, which has all the best defensive gear and can also guard in the necessity, it's fantastic. S tier. Now we have something that may be considered a lifesaver for majority of the runs, which is Loving Whispers. It's one of the best ways to heal, because while Loving Whispers around the time, it be good. Oh boy, now we arrive to my favorite skill in the game. So from the all Mir skills, we have Blood Portal. Do I even need to say anything? This unlocks you fastest travel between the ritual circles just by praying inverting. It's gonna always do 350 damage, which can be used in some niche situations. For example, it's gonna always destroy wooden doors, or it's gonna kill the Jack Joe torso, because the Jack Joe torso has precisely 350 HP. But apart from that, without the Greater Blood magic, which reduces the cost of it to 10 mind, hurting is gonna cost 40 mind. By itself is a C tier. If we consider greater hurting, on the other hand, I would have put it into B tier. But here,
I'm absolutely confident about this one, about someone that has made a tutorial about all the good steals from the enemies. Nah. And I mean, I'm not surprised at this moment. I'm not surprised, but I see some of my videos are here, even there. I mean, sometimes they get suggested, so that's something. My guides are spreading a little bit, and I'm happy about that. So without further ado, let's start with this is how to get all the good steals from the enemy. Things. One, the steals are not guaranteed. Let me explain. Every time you use steal, a dice is rolled between 1 and 2. Independently from the result, you get a different item. And you can only get one total item per enemy. It doesn't matter if you escape, it doesn't matter anything. If you steal, you cannot steal anymore from that enemy. And also, I will not cover all the steals of the game, because a lot of them are just boring. You can just steal some random silver coins, or some useless weapons that are just useless because you have access to, I don't know, Eastern Sword, or Bone Shears, or Shark Teeth. I'll make tutorials about those in the future, maybe, don't worry. And with this clarification, we can start from the basement, where we are going to fight the Iron Shakespeare. You see, you can steal from the Iron Shakespeare either a quill or an empty scroll. And I mean, I think you know how good these items are. The empty scroll is basically a free generator or of an item or of a skill, and the quill is what you need to have in order to use empty scroll. Also, while in the basement, pay a visit to Sir Seymour if you want. Want and you can steal a scroll of the longsword. I already discussed how good this is. Leg sweep is basically a skill that can insta-kill doors, so you immediately get access to things such as Penal Guard or the Miasma if you want. And don't leave the basement yet, because if you want, you can be sucked into the floor. And if you wait enough, you will be able to face the witch, which will grant you either a soul stone, which is a very useful item, or a purifying talisman, which can be debatably useful if you want to go for, I don't know, walk on water skill or something, but we will discuss this in another video. Now we are in the level 1 of dungeon, and you can steal from the Dark Cultists, if you are not in hard mode, a Book of Enlightenment, which is a very useful item that grants you a way to save one use only, and it's perfect. You have instantly, from the start of the game, if you have steal, of course, a way to save the game without having to rely on a bed or something else. While still in this zone, why not stealing from Torture? You can get the Vault Key, and I already discussed how good the Vault Key is if you want to get the Penance Armor. I made a video about that if you're interested. And now it's time to move down to the Blood Pit. Here, sometimes a Lizardman will spawn, and if you want to test your luck, you will be able to get a Crude Sword by stealing, which is a very powerful sword, actually. This is the only one I'm gonna mention because it almost jumped my attack from, I don't know, to 110. It's a two-handed weapon, but it's pretty nice considering you can get it because of its quest or if it is in. Now let's go to Isaiah. It doesn't matter if it is because of its quest or if it is in the level 1 dungeon. If you test your luck, you'll be able to get a Scroll of Fencing, which teaches you how to use Dash. It's not so useful if you start the game with Dash, and you probably will. And you can also from the Gaunt Knight down in Mahabre. And now it's time for my favorite steal of the game. While you face Balltail, you can also just steal after you have destroyed the brain parts, so he will not fight back. You can steal 100% surely 2 soul stones. Why am I feeling so nervous about doing this? Oh, come on. Please, tutorial on the empty scroll. It's easy. Wait. I asked a tutorial on the empty scroll, not about Outlander-S ending without empty scroll. I asked with empty scrolls. I'm gonna do it, you know. This is how does the empty scroll work. So first of all, what is an empty scroll? An empty scroll is a particular scroll that you can find when you search on bookshelves where you have to rely on a coin flip. Also, before you ask, because I noticed a lot of people actually don't know this, when you perform this action of the coin flip, if you get it correct, you can get multiple books and scrolls in the same spot. And one of these is the empty scroll. How can you know what it does? You may say, go on the wiki. No, the wiki is terrible. And also there is an in-game way in order to know how it works. If you kill the third Dark Priest spawning in the zone, which is not always guaranteed, you could get a Priest Robe. If you equip the Priest Robe, you're able to talk to the Dark Priests, and one of them will explain you, sort of, how does the Empty Scroll work, but now I am gonna do it. So once you use it, and in order to use it you need also a quill. If you want, you can get one the Iron Shakespeare sometimes. I made a video about the best steals in the game. You can also randomly find it, or you can buy it from the Cave Dweller vendor. You can interact with the Cave Dweller vendor by having the Stone Crown. The Stone Crown is obtained by killing the Salmon Snake, so I think I should make a video about all of this, but whatever. Once you have both a quill and an empty scroll, you're able to use the empty scroll in order to either get an item, not all the items of the game, there is a precise list that I'm gonna put later, and or teach a spell to yourself. I'm gonna put also a list of that one later. How do you do it? You have to write, "Oh Lord," in this exact way with caps and with the space. Then you enter it. Then on the second verse you write either give, teach, give if you want an item, teach if you want a spell, and then you just have to write the name of it. There are particular names, I'm gonna put them all at the end of the video, no worries. But before putting them, there is one last thing that I think I should mention. First of all, it's hilarious that you can get an empty scroll from an empty scroll, but after that, there is some problem in the thing. Okay, let me explain. So, the event of the empty scroll actually goes like this. If you do, "Oh Lord, give," then it sends you to another event. This event is called Empty Scroll Give. But there is also Empty Scroll Give 2. If it fails to find the item you're requesting for in the Empty Scroll Give, it will try to find it in Empty Scroll Give 2. Pretty easy, right? In Empty Scroll Give 2, if the thing you wrote in the Empty Scroll is Salmon Snake, you should get a Salmon Snake soul. And understandable, right? There is a problem. In the event Empty Scroll Give, there is already an item associated with the Salmon Snake, which is Salmon Snake meat. So you'll never go to Empty Scroll Give 2 because you already found the word Salmon Snake in the first one. So you cannot access the Salmon Snake soul in the Empty Scroll Give 2. So you cannot get a Salmon Snake soul through the Empty Scroll. And then there is another obvious thing. Here there is the leg guards, and when you write it, you get the leg guards, right? Right. Of course, he's never gonna give you that because it would check the leg guards associated with the Iron Mask after the leg guards associated with the leg guard. But still, why is it in there? Why am I questioning this? This was supposed to be about the empty scroll. You know what? Let's just put the lists. I don't care anymore.
A question I've seen asked a lot is, I just got an empty scroll, what do I use it for? Which honestly makes a lot of sense. Empty scrolls can give you one of almost any item or skill, which means analysis paralysis, as you have to pick between hundreds of potential items and evaluate which ones are more useful to you. Thankfully, Fear and Hunger is a puzzle game with correct answers, so here's a list of the top 10 most useful things you can get from an empty scroll. If you already have something on the top of the list, you can take something from later on in the list. Let me get this out of the way first. The new objectively strongest thing you can get from an empty scroll is Phase Step. You can use it to skip almost everything in the entire game and get out of bounds to get all sorts of ridiculous prizes from debug tiles. Problem is, if you don't know what you're doing, Phase Step is useless. The power of Phase Step is based almost entirely around your game knowledge. While it's probably the objectively strongest thing, if you're watching this video because you're looking for advice online, you probably don't know enough to put it to good use. So I'm putting Phase Step at 0th place. It's almost always what you should get first, but if you didn't already know that, it's going to be pretty useless for you. So here's the actual first place. As long as you have both legs the leading character, dash doubles your movement speed from 3 tiles per second to 6 tiles per second. You can outrun almost any threat in the game, and it essentially doubles your mine, hunger, and torches because you can cover twice as much ground before you have to use more. Every character can start with this skill, so you probably already have it, which brings me to number 2. Don't use a scroll for this if you're already playing as Kahara or got the Endless Soul through some other method. In the worst case scenario, Kahara can spend 2 soul stones to learn On Guard, and usually you can learn it with 1. If you press shift on the overworld before you get into a fight, or More specifically, are in the pose with your sword out when the screen finishes fading to black, you get a free round before the enemy attacks. This means you can attempt to run from the fight twice, or attack their most dangerous limb twice, or deal enough damage to the torso to kill them before they get to attack you. If you have a full party, this gives you 4 attacks before the enemy gets to do anything. It also works in a surprising number of boss fights or other scripted encounters. On Guard also has 2 other useful effects. If you kill an opponent during the surprise attack round, they do not get off any post-death attacks, which makes a lot of the forced damage fights safe. If you have dash, while in the on guard pose, your speed increases from 6 tiles per second to 7 per second. Very important. This gives you the White Angel Soul, which is the strongest combat accessory you can get from an empty scroll. This accessory doubles your agility, which lets you take an extra turn after the enemy attacks. The potential uses for this are nearly limitless. If you guard on your first turn and act only on your second, then you'll take half damage during the fight and won't lose any limbs. If you combine this with On Guard, you get 3 actions before the enemy gets to do anything, which is usually enough to kill anything. If you're solo or everyone in your party has double agility, you can use the menu run, not the skill run, to instantly run from any fight with 100% success. 4th place belongs to the strongest non-combat accessory you can request. If you can find a safe enemy to fight, like the human Hydra or a cave dweller without a rock hand, and are willing to spend ages rolling the Pinecone Pig Gotcha, you can use it to grind out infinite basic supplies. You can get minor restoratives like tobacco, opium powder, whiskey, and ale. You can get an infinite number of blue, white, red, water, explosive, and glass vials. You can get all 3 colors of herb. You can get sticks and cloth fragments to make torches. You can get money. You can get raw meat. You can even get a scroll that teaches you dash. If you don't already have dash, really enjoy grinding, and have an easy enemy to grind on, you might want to get this as your number 1. 5th and 6th place are also White Angel Souls. You get a 4th White Angel Soul from the White Angel, obviously. And if you get out a full party with souls, you can combine that with On Guard to get off 12 attacks before the opponent acts. That's enough to kill basically anything in the game. At this point, the challenge of the game is already gone. You can win almost every fight with no effort. You might bump this up higher, maybe even above White Angel, if you got multiple empty scrolls really early on. The Eastern Sword is a very good weapon, but if you upgrade it by defeating the Assassin Spectre, it turns into the strongest sword in the game. If you get the Eastern Sword through a scroll, you can get 2 copies of the Purified version. See my video for how to do it. They've got a 74% crit rate and hit for 1,000 damage when they crit, so 2 party members with these and White Angel Souls that use On Guard can pop out around 6,000 damage before the enemy even gets to act. That's enough to kill basically anything. If you've already purified the sword, this might be bumped down a bit. This book allows for a lot of really stupid things. The most common use is using it after pulling out the sword in the 6th floor mine to survive the cave-in and get some of the best.
While looking through my comments, someone mentioned about...
While gathering footage for an upcoming video about soul stones, I noted something rather odd. After getting an Eastern Sword with an empty scroll and defeating the ghost, the Eastern Sword in the thicket was still there and triggered a fight against the ghost. So I thought to myself, does that mean I can kill the ghost twice and purify 2 swords? As it turns out, yes. So here's the process for getting purified Eastern Swords in a single playthrough. First, get an empty scroll and ask for an Eastern Sword. Put in, "O Lord, give Eastern Sword," exactly like I did here, and confirm each line with Enter instead of Z. Second, defeat the ghost chases after you and purify your Eastern Sword. Third, get your hands on a that chases after you and purify your Eastern Sword. Third, get your hands on a cursed weapon or other source of otherworldly damage. This does not include cursing Kahara's starting scimitar or Ragnvaldr's starting axe. I found that out while testing this, but those 2 weapons still deal physical damage due to an oversight. Fourth, head down into the thicket. Draw a second Eastern Sword from the ground and kill the ghost immediately. I forgot to mention this in my Assassin Spectre video, but you can guard his horizontal sweep to keep your limbs on. This will purify the second Eastern, so now you have 2 purified Eastern Swords. Enjoy your stupidly high damage per round. Does that mean I can kill the ghost? The process for getting 2 purified Eastern Swords in a single playthrough. First, get an empty scroll and ask for an Eastern Sword. Put in, "Oh Lord, give Eastern Sword," exactly like I did here, and line with Enter instead of Z. Second, defeat the ghost that chases after you and purify your Eastern Sword. Second, defeat the ghost that chases after you and purify. Purify your Eastern Sword. Does that mean I can kill the ghost? Process roll and ask for an Eastern Sword. Put in, "Oh Lord, give Eastern Sword," exactly like.
This time I'm not even gonna check on YouTube because I'm sure no one has done a video about all the places in which you can look at moonless peeing. I'm sure about this. I want a counter dog. Actually, it's a she, so use the correct pronouns for her. And she can be found in the caverns just under the elevator that you can get from the blood pit. And if you give her in, of course, not in hard mode, because in hard mode you have to be in solo mode. And if you give her in, of course, not in hard mode, because in hard mode you have to be in solo mode. If you give her 2 rotten meats, she will join your party. And she cannot be controlled in battle, but she does 2 turns every time. Like, at the end of the turn, she has an extra action. And she cannot equip items.
No, today I'm not even gonna check if this video is already online because I'm sure nobody's talking about what I want to talk about. I'm gonna do it. This is how to face the mother. Why I'm so angry? Let's start from the basics. So, where do you find the cave mother? The cave mother is in the level 4 mines, and especially you have to go into this part right here where there are a lot of no X. Usually it's near a bridge, and what happens is once you cross certain zones, which is here in this confirmation of the dungeon and here confirmation of the dungeon, if you try to go back, then what happens is the cave mother is gonna attack you. But without further ado, what does the cave mother do? The only part on her body that is going to attack is the torso, which is going to do, with 25% chance, one tooth bite that does 30 damage and cuts an arm, with 25% chance, another one tooth bite, which still does 30 damage, but this time it cuts a leg, and with 25% chance, a one tooth bite that does nothing, but only 30 damage. Has nothing, of course. But it's not over, because she has breasts. And if this bodyguard is alive at the end of the first turn and at the end of the third turn, in both turns, she's gonna summon one Cave Gnome. Cave Gnome has 100 HP and is gonna do Gnaw as the only attack. Gnaw basically does like 10 damage and puts bleeding 25% chance, infection 30% chance, and infection leg 30% chance. Also, I think I should mention, if you do something that is supposed to burn the Cave Mother's torso, then her torso is gonna become weakness, as you may remember, makes her take increased damage. I think it's 150% of normal, and also she's not gonna have evasion anymore. Oh, and you can also win the fight by destroying the wings instead of destroying the torso. She's gonna die at the end of the turn in which you destroy the wings. If you kill her wings in an extra turn, you have to wait until the end of the next.
Test magic aidas rolling the pinecone pick guy, like I did here, and confirm each line with enter instead of Z. Second, defeat the ghost that chases after you and purify your Easter instead of Z. Second, defeat. Beat the ghost that chases after you and purify your Eastern sword. Third, get your hands on a cursed weapon or other source of otherworldly damage. This does not include Kursin Kahara's starting scimitar or Rakenvalder's starting axe. I found that out while testing this, but those two weapons still deal physical damage due to an oversight. Fourth, head down into the thicket. Draw a second Eastern sword from the ground and kill Ghost immediately. I forgot to mention this in my Assassin Spectre video, but you can guard his horizontal sweep to keep your limbs on. This will purify the second Eastern sword, so now you have 2 purified Eastern swords. Enjoy!
It seems to be short in the water. Reach for it.
Alright, so since the game is like 3 years old or even more, Nasha. So, in order to recruit this, in order to recruit this party member, you have to do two simple things. First of all, you have to navigate the dungeon until you reach the blood pit, to trigger the elevator going down in the caves, and you have to talk to one of the yellow mages during the combat. I suggest that you cut off both his arms before doing this, because the right arm, the left arm technically, because he is specular respect to you. So yeah, the left arm is able to stun you forever, and the right arm will use Hurting, which is a spell that can destroy permanently one of your limbs. So yeah, before trying to take him down, destroy his arms. Now, you have to talk to him, and you have to ask about the gods that he serves, and then he can teach you something about it. And this way, he'll give you the Eclipse Talisman. We're almost over, now you just have to go in the Cave Dweller City, proceeding in the caves. You have to reach the end of it, the Altar of Darkness, and you have to take the Cube of the Depths. After you take the end of it, the altar, now you just have to go in the Cave Dweller City, proceeding in the caves. You have to reach the end of it, the Altar of Darkness, and you have to take the Cube of the Depths. After you take it, the cave dweller citizens will attack you unless you have the stone crown that you can get from defeating the Salmon Snake boss. And after this, you can just go back to the beginning in the blood pit. Now, all that you have to do is interact with the stuff that is
you